Football friends, are you on the hunt for the perfect wardrobe that balances style and comfort? Look no further than Damat Tween Australia. They're your one-stop shop for all things trendy and fashionable for all ages. From chic tops to comfy bottoms, Damat Tween Australia has it all covered and have suited up Atletico Madrid, Fenerbahce, Galatasaray and Western United, just to name a few. Explore their latest collection including the Nano Care and Traveller's shirts at their Melbourne showroom located at 519 Keilor Road, Niddrie, and treat your tween to the latest fashion trends.
You got our mind tonight? Play for over?
Depends. Will your friend, the footballer, be there?
Oh, friend! Football friend! Oh, what a superb goal! Stefan Moore, that is extraordinary from Ben Garuccio.
You're listening to Football Friends with Ben Garuccio and Stefan Mork. And we finally ditched the laptop webcams for the week and come to you direct from Melbourne as the boys record our first ever in-person pod. We chat the latest Football Friends derby, all the other latest on-field excitement from the business end of the A-League men's season, and go in-depth into a bunch of your questions in this hour-long studio special. So sit back, relax, and join us for episode 25 of Football Friends.
Hello guys and welcome back to episode 25 of Football Friends with Ben and Stef. Obviously we had the game on Tuesday night. Steph came down to Tarneit, played a 3-3 draw. So Steph's in town here in Melbourne and we've got our first in-person podcast. So welcome Steph. How have you pulled up from the game last night?
Yeah, really good. Disappointing result for us, conceding another kind of late goal. You guys didn't have too much to play for. And yeah, 3-2 up after being 2-0 down. We thought we'd kind of got the points sealed. And then, Connor O'Toole pops up at the back post. The left back Garuccio crosses to O'Toole. And I guess the silver lining is I'm here in Melbourne filming in person with you. We've got some cool football jerseys on. I'm so excited for the show today.
Yeah, we got been hooked up by Shearer's Cupboard, guys. So if you're on socials, check him out. He's just launched his website. He's got loads of vintage kits. So I'm donning the Liverpool and Steph's got the Leeds United with Harry Kewell on the back that you might not be able to see. But we're here, we're back. We can jump straight into the round 24 review, if you like, Steph.
First up, we had Wellington Phoenix taking on Melbourne Victory, which was a massive game. If Victory won that, then they got within touching distance. Bit of a scrappy game in the rain. Typical Wellington, I guess, where you expect it normally to be windy, but the rain came in as well. And 88th, 90th minute goal, own goal, but massive for them. And you probably would say they're going to be finishing top two now. Yeah,
for sure. I think it's going to be them and Central Coast, and I think that ball in for the goal, the set piece was unbelievable. I think it was Van Hatten that put it in. So Wellington, they've, I think, solidified. They're definitely top two, and obviously with the other results that happened, Central Coast as well. But the next game was Adelaide, you boys, against MacArthur, and we obviously spoke already off air, but that was probably one of the biggest snatch and grabs I've seen in recent times. Like, you boys absolutely dominated that game. They go down to 10 men. You're thinking, all right, Nesta's going to score another one or two goals. And then somehow at the end, just a disaster, really.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, we started pretty well and went 1-0 up. I've just done a simple pass to Nesta and he's scored an unbelievable goal. So it's getting me a cheap assist. And
you said it was it was all the pass. It had nothing to do with the finish.
Honest, it was a good ball, good positioning by me. And I think, to be honest, as a player, like for me, playing with someone like Nesta, all you need to do is get him the ball. If you can try and get in the position to receive it and be able to face forward, so he's already running at the defenders, and it's a simple pass, but if I can play it where he's sprinting onto the ball, as a defender, you'd know, as you experienced last night, you can't stop him. If he's got room to run at you, he's just too quick and too powerful. So, that's something that we've tried to work on, and we went 1-0 up. We should have probably scored another one at the end of the first half. We had some chances. Then I had one at the start of the second half. Nesta had a couple more chances, and you go down to 10 men. I actually don't think it was a red card. He got 2 games for it as well, which was a little bit surprising because he's had no idea Nesta was there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you kind of think 1-0, 10 men, MacArthur, they're creating nothing, so we'll win this. We made a few changes, and they went up the other end from, I think it was Kiddo putting a ball into the box, and they went up the other end, free cross on the left hand side, free chest down by Jermaine, he's unbelievable.
Yeah,
what a player!
Top
Like
player.
obviously doesn't have the legs probably as what he once did, but technically he's very, very good. And then to concede off a second phase of a set piece is just disappointing, because if we had won that, the way the results went, we were a shoo-in, well, not a shoo-in, but very good chance for the finals. And just disappointing.
Yeah, I think the way the momentum was going for you boys, like you win that game, then obviously you come here, you get a win. Look, it's all hindsight at the end of the day. Unfortunately, that's the way that season's gone for you boys. But yeah, it wasn't a good result in the end. But I think the way you play, very, very good. But at this point of the season, you need to be picking up those points, especially when you're kind of chasing the pack. But on to the next game, which was us against Central Coast back at Tarnee. And yeah, look, similar kind of story. I thought the first half we were not bad. We created some decent chances. We had the offside goal. But yeah, like in that second half, they were just too good, to be honest. Like the way that they play, it's very composed, it's very patient, their build up, they don't force too many passes. They're just, I've said it all season, I think they're probably just the most well-drilled team in the league. And once they got that first goal, which was, a pretty shit goal to concede from us, and then after that, honestly, we had nothing, to be honest. Like it didn't even feel like we were going to get a chance. We had one half chance off a counter where Walesy crossed it over to Danzaki. He missed. But aside from that, honestly, the way they shut us out, you look at that and you're like, that's a team that can go on and win it.
I guess that's why they're at the top. They've probably been the most consistent, and they've got that little bit of X factor as well with Torres, especially. Nisbet's been playing really well, but Torres, Theo Harris now off the bench as well. Those players that can kind of create something from nothing in a tight game against you guys, or even the week before against Wellington, you had Docker stepping up. These are the times where maybe you don't play your best, but you win, and that's something that we, Adelaide United, haven't done, and Central Coast do every week, even when they're not. And Wellington as well, probably those two. There's no surprise why they're top, because they get results even when they maybe don't deserve to. And over the course of the season, if you can do that, then you're going to be right up there. So anyway, that's enough about them. On to Brisbane and Newcastle. And this was one of the games that we were looking at as Adelaide, thinking we don't want Brisbane to get points because we want to keep them away. And Newcastle did us a favour and got the away win, and they've kind of hit a bit of form, the Jets.
They're playing well.
Maybe the sale of the club will be getting a couple of hundred extra thousand, because the young boys are doing quite well. But disappointing for Brisbane playing at home to drop points there. And the biggest game of the round was the Sydney Derby, and it was a crazy finish to the match. Sydney 2-1, probably I think deserved. I thought they were the better team. But if you're West Sydney and you equalise in the 90th minute, was it Sapsford?
Thought he'd done it again.
Yeah, like you're
in the derby.
Like I think the emotions, the adrenaline rush, everything, you think like, all right, this is a draw now. Like you're celebrating with your fans, and then to go up the other end and then to have the exact same thing happen to you. I'm not sure if the finish was meant. Like he's kind of.
They had so much room. At the back post. Like for me, I think they tackled Pieris, and then they go all the way up the other side. Western Sydney had time to get players back, and then Caceres gets the ball, goes down the line, he crosses it, goes about 15 metres in the air, and he's free there at the back post. So, if you're Western Sydney, you're fucking...
But they actually had the numbers in the box, Western. It was more just they weren't marking the players, and I don't know, obviously each team has different structures. Rudin's come out and said about Eunice. Should have been marking, but I thought he was in not a bad position, and that, like, Kucharski, if that's how you say his name, is a striker. So why would your right winger be marking the striker? But maybe that's how they defend crosses. Maybe they expect their winger to come back. And I guess for him as a young player, like I remember coming on against Adelaide United for Melbourne Heart, and I was marking Griffiths. What was his name? Not Roston.
Joel?
Not Joel. The other. There was one more, I think it was.
Brent.
Was it Brent Griffiths?
I don't
Nah, I don't know.
Fuck knows.
Who knows? He was playing. It was for Adelaide United, so it was from a corner, and I just remember thinking, "Fuck, I can't let this guy score. Can't let this guy score." And he's gone to like go forward, so I've gone with him, and he's just run behind me 6-yard box. Redders didn't do me any favors in coming out for the ball.
Yeah.
Scored, and I just remember like I was just sitting in the pool afterwards. When
I
we were doing
remember
the
that recovery the next day.
and I was just thinking, "Fuck me,
I know.
like what a disaster."
You feel like you've cost the game.
And I'm sure Yunus was probably feeling similar, but he actually I saw he went out the next day and played for the NPL team. Got, I think, 3 assists and 1 goal or something like that. So he obviously wasn't too phased by it. But yeah, it's hard for a young player, but you learn very quickly. And we had that in our video review with some of the players. Like, you come on off the bench, you have to make an impact. And if you're winning a game, just do your job defensively. And I think that's the toughest thing. But you have to have that mindset of my player's not scoring. I don't care what happens, but my player isn't going to score. And you learn quickly, or you fall out the system, I guess.
Yeah. But the next game was probably the most exciting, action-packed game of the round. Look, 8 goals. You don't see that too often. That's the record win in A-League history. Yeah. And, we've said it a couple of times about Melbourne City this season. When they're on, they're fucking on. And when they're off, you maybe got some characters in there that's maybe why they're not as strong as they have been in seasons gone by. But, yeah, 8-0 to win a game 8-0, that's pretty incredible in professional football.
Yeah, I think it's tough for Perth. Like, we also had the game in Perth and it was 35, 36 degrees. And honestly, like, it does take it out of you. But it's no excuse for losing 8-0. And, they've got a new owner. I'm not sure if the coach is staying there. I'm sure a lot of the players potentially will be getting moved on, or you don't know yet. But I think Ross Pellegrini was in the stands watching that game. They've come out during this week with a statement to the fans saying it's not acceptable, which is great for the club to say that. But, for the players, it's going to be a few tough conversations, I'm sure. And, as good as Melbourne City were, you should never concede 8 goals. And it just goes to show when you're kind of playing for nothing as a player, you never go out there, we've spoken about it before, to lose or to not give 100%, but it is hard to get up for it when, one team's fighting for that last spot in the 6 and the other team's just fighting for personal pride and for a new contract potentially. So interesting to see the changes they make, because they've come out and they've said that they want to get back to the top, and obviously that performance has probably highlighted even more areas. So we'll see. But Melbourne City, I would say, are the favourites to clinch that last 6 spot now.
The way they're looking. I think Arslan's got the Johnny Warren wrapped up, to be honest. I think he's it's 13 goals, 7 assists or something. And he's a joke.
He's too good. But who else will be up there? Nisbet?
Yeah, Nisbet could be.
Lolly?
Could be. I know in the Alex Tobin, I know Alex Paulson's polled unbelievably from the start of the season. Obviously, Wellington they've basically created that dominance through their defensive displays and keeping clean sheets, which is unlike a Wellington team in the years gone past. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Lolly's up there. Even in that derby, he didn't score or anything, but he's the man. Yeah, everything kind of goes through him. So, yeah, he's just a top player.
I think Lolly, the one thing that could really help him is maybe there's no other player that's probably going to take points off him in those direct games, from Sydney. So we'll see. But the round 13 catch-up game from you guys delaying it, so we could play at your new stadium down in Tarneit. 3-3. We're both happy. It was a double forfeit for you if you lost. So Connor O'Toole has saved you your head of hair.
In the first half, I was thinking, fuck. And I actually thought about it on the pitch. It's so bad. But I was like, fuck yeah, we're winning. I'm not going to have to do the other forfeit. So that went through my head. That's maybe why we bloody conceded 2 goals and then ended up 3-2 down. I was thinking, fucking hell, my hair's gone. So luckily, Tooley stepped up in the end. Good finish. And yeah, it was disappointing. I don't know, you probably disappointed as well to concede a goal that late after then going up. But for us, we're in control. We had other chances in that first half, and then we just let you guys back in it. It's feeling like we're coasting in the second half. Okay, we're winning. Hopefully, someone else will do it. And, you need that foot on the throat mentality. When you're winning 2-1, go and score another third, get a fourth, see them out of the game instead of letting them back in. And yeah, it didn't take much. It was a couple of moments. It happened so quickly. Like the goal with Nesta, I look at my positioning and I think, fucking hell, why didn't I just start running in earlier? I was level with him, but once he gets through, you're not catching him.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how like both teams like messages would be completely different. Like you guys would be thinking we're 2-0 up, we're dominating, and where like we felt it was 2-1, sorry, at halftime, but we felt like we were dominating the game. Our silly mistakes had kind of given you scored from a set piece, but that first goal where Delhi's obviously just, I don't know, he must be mates with Grimaldi and he's just put it on a platter for him.
He's
But
just
like,
signed a new contract,
Yeah,
so he needed to do that a couple of weeks ago.
I don't know what's happening with that, but it happens. You know, you try and play out from the back, these mistakes are going to happen. But, you know, we had maybe not clear-cut chances, but we were dominating the possession, and maybe you guys had set up like that to give us the ball, but we felt like, you know, maybe we were going through the motions a little bit. We weren't really playing forward as much as what we could have had, but it's interesting to see how, you know, you guys were probably confident at halftime, but we were also like, you know what, we've got them here. We just need to make sure that we score a second, and we did score that second off the set piece. A little bit fortunate, obviously hitting the post and coming back out to Ibasuki, but then, you know, you go 3-2 up, Nesta scores that one, and again, like you said, you probably could have dropped earlier, but also the guy's too quick. You drop any earlier, then your whole line's behind, like you're behind the back line. So
I think, I could have just been tucked in a little bit more when the ball was on the other side, but yeah, it's always that, you know, you're thinking, if the ball comes back out, then I'm in a good position to potentially go forward.
O'Toole lost it. He passed it straight to Kiddo, and then Kiddo played it into me. I've played to Ibasuki.
Yeah.
So it's a quick
And
transition.
it was like even the ball from Ibasuki, like, you know, that's your number 9. He's dropping into that pocket. So good to just turn. And he's a big boy as well, but he turns, plays a perfect pass. So, yeah, that's football, but you can't do much about it.
For us to lose, like obviously you guys are buzzing 3-3, even though you're playing for nothing. But, you know, for us, that was our finals on the line. And the last 2 minutes, or it was the 94th minute you equalised, like to concede like that. It's just, it's probably what we deserve. You know, maybe we don't deserve to be in the finals over the course of the season and mistakes that we've made. But I feel like in the last month, 6 weeks, we've actually played good enough football, and we've got, especially the attacking play has been really good. So if we did make finals, I think teams would be scared to play us, because you've got Nesta, but also Ibasuki, Clough.
You?
Yeah, me. So we've been pretty good, but it is what it is, and now we just need to make sure in these last couple games, like we're fighting. I think mathematically we can make it, but really you're fighting. You don't want to finish bottom 4 and play those FA Cup qualifying rounds. So we've got 2 big games, Central Coast and then Brisbane. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah. Well, that's enough of the review. We'll go on to the A-League Women's. They've got the semi-finals this week. So obviously, unfortunately, Western United, they played the blackout game in Tarnee. The lights went out. But unfortunately, they went down to Newcastle. So Newcastle go through. So we got Central Coast against Sydney, and then Newcastle versus Melbourne City. So their season will be wrapping up just before ours. So we'll see who comes out on top in the A-League Women's as well. It could be 2 in a row for Sydney.
Yeah, and I think they also broke the record for a women's competition for the highest attendance. So it's amazing to see on the back of the Women's World Cup, a lot of people, obviously it's a bigger season as well, it's the longest season, but, you know, to rock up week in, week out, the fans, and to break that record, I think shows the level of support that's there, and hopefully the backing comes from, obviously, the clubs themselves, but Football Australia, and then also the governments, because if we want, you know, Australia, the Matildas, to keep, I guess, playing in the World Cups, to compete for the World Cup, you need the investment that other countries are putting in, and we give it to other codes in this country. But for football to give that, you know, I guess that help that we need, the government should be supporting it, because it's shown that, you know, it brings the country together, and we're developing world-class players, but we need their help.
Yeah, for sure. I just think, like, I've noticed that, I don't know about you, but we played the double-header last game when obviously the girls were playing against Newcastle afterwards, and not just in that game, but all year. Like, I've noticed that there's so many more young girls, you know, when you go and sign autographs after the game, you know, it's not just young boys, there's so many young girls coming out as well. And, you know, I've been professional for 11 years, you know, I think when I first started, you know, you'd see girls there, but nowhere near as many now. You see probably just as many girls now as there are young boys there. So, you know, it's obviously working. It's rubbing off on those young kids. You know, every young girl you speak to, I was speaking to my cousin the other day, and she wants to be the next Sam Kerr. So I think it is really good, the momentum that they've created. We just need to keep, enhancing that and keep moving forward with it so we can continue to grow these national teams and these young players.
I think it was, I was speaking to Javi, so if this is wrong, Javi Lopez is the one that's told me this information, but I'm pretty sure in Spain, the government actually funds almost the entire league to a point to make them professional, to give them the wages they need, because the clubs potentially weren't able to do it. It wasn't making money. So the government's actually funded it to a certain extent. And I think if you can do that, that's amazing, because, yes, we want them to be full-time, and the women, they want to get paid full-time wages. The hard thing is for the clubs, they're losing a lot of money. So you're expecting, one individual owner to pay, and if they lose $2 million, what can we do? So if the government can help, that's even better.
Yeah, so 2 rounds left now for the season, and let's do some finals predictions. What do we do? Grand final. Who's your guess for grand final? And for the 6?
I'll go 6 first, so it makes it easier. I think Melbourne City will get the last spot. So then you've got Central Coast, Wellington, Victory, Sydney, MacArthur, and Melbourne City. I think could be some interesting games in that one. First 3v6, 4v5. But I think Victory and Sydney, assuming they're not playing each other, will be the ones that will get through. And then you'll have in the grand final, Central Coast against Melbourne Victory. And I think Melbourne Victory will win that.
Really?
Yeah, big call.
I agree. I agree with the 6. I think it will be the 1-2 grand final. Yeah, the Central Coast Wellington. That's honestly flip of a coin. But I'm gonna say Central Coast, just on the experience. They've been there last season. They've done it. They know what it takes. And I feel like they've just got that little bit more X factor for a big game, a tight game that's probably not going to have too much in it. I think, yeah, Central Coast. And obviously, look, it's fresh in my mind. We just played them and they were very good. So they've also got the travel to take into account. They've had this the whole season and they've dealt with it unbelievably. So
they play tonight in the AFC Cup first leg, which is like, obviously it's massive financially for the club, and they've qualified for next year's new format of the Champions League. And if you win the Champions League, you actually get the last spot into the Club World Cup, which is, I think it's 50 million euros.
Ridiculous.
So not that they're going to probably get anywhere near.
Win the Champions League first. You got to beat Ronaldo.
There's only 24 teams in it, so.
Yeah, but the Saudi teams alone.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. But could you imagine? And this is where I think the Asian Champions League, the prize money needs to get bigger. Like, that 50 million is great for the Club World Cup, but that should be put, like, a big percentage of that should go into the Champions League for all teams, because it's still not that lucrative when you're comparing it to the African Cup of Nations. Sorry, not Cup of Nations, but their Champions League, and obviously UEFA Champions League. The Asian ones, teams lose money in it. Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting. But if Central Coast can win that, obviously this year, it will give them a lot of confidence in Asia for next season.
What's the prize money for this one? For the
couple million.
It's like nearly the whole salary cap for a year. Which, when you look at it in that way, for an A-League club, that's fucking huge.
Big. Yeah, and the players, I'm sure, will get a percentage of that. So individually for the players, you'll be buzzing, because again, it's another trophy as well for a club like Central Coast that 3-4 years ago were struggling to get anyone to come to their games. We're at the bottom of the table. It was kind of like, as a player, it was like, if you go to Central Coast, that's the end of the line for you. Yeah. No, right. And they've turned it around, so it's amazing for them. And we actually play them this Sunday, so we're hoping that we can kind of ruin their party. But we'll see. How we go.
They might do the treble.
Yeah,
they might do the treble this season. So we'll see. But we got a few games because Kat, our producer, has sorted us out a few games. Our first in-person pod. So let's make it a little bit fun. So we've got these sheets printed out, which, guys, we haven't actually seen these yet. So this is our first time seeing it. So there's no cheating involved, but we're guessing the player from their club logo.
The first player we have, he's played for Bolton Wanderers, then St Mirren, Western Sydney Wanderers, Melbourne City, Manchester City. Can only be one player, can't it?
Aaron Moy.
Aaron Moy. There we go. So
Tick, first one's a tick.
and then he went on to obviously play for a few more teams, and now he's looking like he's living a good life in retirement. You see,
He's in Byron Bay.
Byron Bay. Yeah, I don't know. He must have bought a mansion there. And his son, I saw his son the other day was surfing. I can't. It's
Amazing.
crazy. What a life.
We have to get him on the pod. I reckon that would go for probably 3 minutes.
I don't think
Can't
he'd
get
say a
too-
word.
Can't get too many words out of Aaron Moy.
What a guy. Second up, Parramatta FC Eagles, the Central Coast Mariners, Shizuoka Shimizu S-Pulse, Western Sydney Wanderers, and Al Toon.
And then back over with you.
Yes, Fagiano Okayama.
Mitchell Duke has to be Mitchell Duke. Some of these are easy. I think this next one's going to be easier.
Yeah.
I don't know what even the first club is, to be
Nacional?
honest. Yeah, Nacional.
Yeah, Sampdoria.
Sampdoria, Panathinaikos, Melbourne City,
City.
Perth Glory. Can only be one. Bruno Fornaroli.
Bruno. So, to
El
be honest,
Tuna.
he's he's played for some big clubs, hasn't he?
Yeah, good career.
And then this one is an interesting one.
Littleton
Littleton.
FC. I don't even know what the next club is.
What?
I've never seen that logo in my fucking life.
We've got Huddersfield Town, Scunthorpe, Nottingham Forest. We know who the player is. What was it? Kidderminster or something.
Kidderminster or I don't know, something.
Joe Lolly.
It has to be Joe Lolly.
So
Alright.
he's
First page was good. Let's see if there's any that can stump us. We'll have to see. I wonder if everyone's getting them at home. Maybe it's been a bit easier for us. Next one, Celtic, Ross County,
Burton Albion.
Burton Albion,
Hull
Hull
City
City, and
and
Hibs.
Hibs.
Is a big Scottish influence here. I know who it is.
And he's now at St. Pauli. Loves a retro football jersey.
Yeah, exactly. He usually looks like us. Jacko Irvine,
So,
top player, top career.
and the last one, Sydney United, Central Coast Mariners,
And Karaspor.
Gaelic and Berliki. I don't even know how to say that. He's in Turkey.
And Karaspor.
And then Crystal Palace, Aston Villa.
Aston Villa.
Do you know this one?
I'm having one here.
I know who it is.
Do you?
Yeah. I'm miles ahead of you.
Give me a second. It's Turkey that's fucking throwing me off. Crystal Palace, Aston Villa.
He doesn't know.
Oh. Is it Mila Jednak?
Yeah. Mila Jednak.
Fucking hell, it took me a bit. I got
That's
there.
all right.
Man.
You didn't
Oh,
have a great sleep last night. We were up watching the game back until 2
well,
a.m.
you wanted to keep me up all night. All right, that's it. We're done. It's a clean sweep. The boys we can't be beaten.
That was the beginner. That was the beginner mode. Next week,
where's the
Kat
next
can
one
go
now?
a little bit harder on us, and hopefully at home you got them all. But yeah, maybe we can bring that in as a
Could be an addition.
a
could be a little
weekly
segment.
segment because it was actually quite good.
And now we're gonna go into our All-Stars team. I already did this a few weeks ago, but let's go through it together. We'll start from the back. Goalies.
Yeah. Are we picking on like who we think is actually the best player or who's
I
had the
think-
best season?
I think you have to go on the current season.
Yeah.
Like it's an All-Stars team for this season.
Yeah.
So, even if it's a player that maybe, there is a standout player in that position, but they haven't reached the
Yeah.
heights, say like maybe a Jamie McLaren this
Yeah,
season,
yeah.
you'd obviously have him probably in your all-time All-Star 11. It's got to be Jamie McLaren, but based on this season, there's, probably other strikers that have scored more goals. So
Yeah. Okay.
start with goalie.
Paulson.
I said Paulson.
I think.
I said for me, Gauchi would have
Gauchi.
been the standout, but obviously Aston
He's
Villa
on to
saw
bigger
the
and better
same.
things. He doesn't need to play against with the All-Star team against Newcastle United.
No, he just plays against them on the weekend.
Yeah, so he's
Or sits on the bench against them.
yeah, he's been warm on that bench. It'd be cold there.
for the moment, but he's destined for big
Yeah.
things. He was our first guest.
Yeah, I think so. I think he
Jack
was.
Archie.
So we'll have to get a bit of a commission because we probably pumped him up a bit on there, and the Aston Villa scouts I reckon heard it. Josef
Exactly
Gombau,
right.
who helped with the deal.
Because when he came on, he said, "Good evening."
Yeah.
And that was it. That was straight on the blower after that. I said,
Yeah.
"We got to fucking sign this guy."
So we'll go right back next.
It's hard.
I think Payne,
I said Payne for mine.
but also Docker's probably come into the mix.
Would you have him at right back or right mid though?
I'd have him at right back because I think there's better players that you could have at right right
Yeah.
mid, right wing. But
I would say, he has been.
the back end of this season, I know he's kind of been going between the two positions, but like he started off, and a lot of players or a lot of people, were saying he's not really up to the standard. But he's been unbelievable, and that's why you need to give the foreign players
Bit of time.
a bit of time to settle in. And he's especially that goal against Wellington.
Yeah,
That's probably won him the title. So he's my right back. We both agree on that one.
Yeah, agree on that.
Centre backs.
Centre backs. I think Kaltak has to be one.
Yeah, Kaltak. And
He is a
then
fucking brick wall, man.
He's a very good player. And from Wellington, you need to have one of the two.
Would you go Wooten?
Wooten's been good, but Sermon's been like...
Sermon's been really good as well.
He's quite young as well, isn't he? Doesn't look that
he
young.
thought he scored the goal.
He was celebrating.
got OG. Poor guy.
I'll maybe Wooten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For that leadership.
Yeah.
Obviously, Sermon, this is his first season.
Yeah.
Obviously playing. I
He
think
can probably get in there as well on the bench, but...
Yeah, I think Wooten looks like the leader, I would say, in that back four. Obviously, you've got Rufer in front,
Yeah.
which
And then
helps.
left back,
Left back.
would you put
My
Garucho in
position,
there?
Nah, look, you can't.
Not when you're coming near the bottom.
You can't. Look, we're down the bottom. To
I
be
think
honest,
I think you've had a good season.
I think I've had a good season in a team we've struggled across the season, but conceding so many goals, at the end of the day, you got to pride yourself on clean sheets. So,
Farrell's
the one.
obvious.
He's obviously been
Obvious
away
choice.
now with
Yeah.
away with the 23s. He's had a couple of injuries, but I think across the whole season, even you look at Victory, Traore's been quite in and out. You've had Jason Guerrier playing there. For Melbourne City, obviously had Aziz, but he's left halfway through
Yeah.
the season. And then Galloway was playing. Now you've got Fernandez. So
No one
even
really.
to be honest, even Wellington, they had Kelly Hild playing.
Yeah.
Then they had Sutton playing. So they've chopped and changed a little bit as well. I think Farrell's got to be the one that's gone throughout the season, and obviously in a team that's doing really, really well.
We're obviously not going by the guidelines of the All Stars where you need to have one player from each team.
Look, I think Moragas as well has had a good year,
he's
but that's
been
another team that's
he's
obviously
gone to Central Coast supposedly for next season.
Struggling,
so it's
yeah.
a big signing if that's true. But we'll go on to the midfield. What are we doing? 4-4-2 or 4-3-3?
Well, we can have discussions as we go through because there might be some players that miss out. Like
I
for me,
think-
you get onto this next one. All right, like we can lock in Arslan.
Yeah.
That has to be. I
Arslan.
think you can basically lock in Nisbet.
Yeah.
So that's already basically your two centre mids.
Yeah. Arslan, Nisbet.
Like could Rufer could potentially be in there.
Roof has been good. Like even Devere, like
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of players. There's a lot of players for these last ones. Even when you get to strikers as well, you got to.
Yeah.
All right, are we doing 4-4-2? Are we doing 4-3-3? Because if you're going to go with a lone striker, then out of Taggart, out of Fornaroli, out of Stamatopoulos.
if we go 4-4-2,
4-4-2. All right, let's stick to
we've done the two
4-4-2.
midfielders.
Arsenal Nisbet, we locking that in? Are we
Yeah.
not overlooking anyone? We're doing this on the spot. We don't have a paper in front of us with all the players in each
I
position.
think those are the two. And then on the left, you could have Lolly. Whether he plays on the left or the right, he can cut in. But
Would you have Torres on one side?
yeah, but
Torres has got...
Maybe Torres.
I don't know how many goals he's got, but he's like...
13, I think.
double
to be honest.
digits.
I think, all right, we'll have Torres on the left because that's where he plays, and we can have on the right Lolly. Not sure.
Are we missing it? I feel like I need like a phone a friend here, just to
that's-
see if we're missing anyone. I feel like even last time I did it, there was a couple there that I did actually miss out.
I don't think there's anyone that's been of that same level. And then if you went up top for me, I'd have Tags and Bruno.
And Stammer just misses out.
Stammer misses out.
Honourable mention.
Yeah,
Because
but
he's had a top season.
yeah, I think he misses out. And that's a good team. Like that's obviously not with the young boys. Like we've missed out potentially. Like you could say Aaron Kunda,
Nesta.
but Lolly.
Who would you rather play against, Lolly or Irankunda? Obviously, you're not a fullback. Fuck, for me, neither.
Neither. I think Aaron Kunda would be worse to play against because he's just literally running at you and he's taking you on each time.
Every
Where Lolly
single time.
cuts in a lot, so you can pass him on.
Yeah.
Pass him on to the midfielders.
Pass the buck. Fucking hell, midfielder. Deal with that.
Yeah, he's cutting inside and I'll get the runner. But I think Nesta will make the squad, obviously. Like, of course, he's the poster boy for the league. Even you guys last night promoting your game and said, come and watch Nesta play.
Can't fucking do that.
Come and watch Nesta play. Like, it's actually crazy what he's done for football in this country. And, like, in these last couple of years, there's been a lot of bad moments and zero publicity. And Nesta himself has been like the one. And who was the guy that came over from England and he gave the recommendations? Do you remember that? He was from the Premier League. You probably don't even remember.
No.
But he came out and he was like a consultant and gave him like, these are the points that you should be focusing on. And one of the big things was to focus on homegrown talent, not so much your marquees. And it goes to show, as good as a Del Piero was or a Shinji Ono, a Nesta, you pay him a lot less and people love him.
Yeah.
Everyone in Adelaide loves him, but, he's
once in a generation.
Yeah, but you
talent.
can still turn other players into that, from a Central Coast, like a Nisbet or a Ballard or a Farrell. Like these young boys, like every kid in that region should know who that is. Like the same way when a Dusty Martin or a Nick Dacos walks down the street in Melbourne, everybody knows who they are, only because they're on Channel 7 all the time. They're on every billboard, but we can do the same with football players. So I think that's a big area that we need to focus on, and there's always a talent coming through. Like at Adelaide, we seem to just have them popping up out of nowhere, and all other clubs should be looking to try and do the same and not put pressure on them by making them the stars of the league, but at the same time, like that's your marketing ploy to actually make these players the superstars, so fans think, I want to come just to watch Nesta play. And I think we've sold, don't quote me on this again, but it's like something ridiculous, like 1,1600 jerseys with Nesta.
Yeah. It's not a surprise. I need to get one of them.
Yeah, I'm going to
get
one
me
as
one
well.
or what?
I'll wait till he gets to Bayern and then get one.
Yeah, true. Maybe we get one of them.
But yeah, I think that's our all-star team.
It's a solid team.
I don't know how we'll go against Newcastle in that game. Is that who we're playing, Newcastle?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's who are they playing? Newcastle, and then Tottenham playing Newcastle as well.
Yeah, so it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's here in Melbourne,
and the women's,
which is good.
The women's are playing Arsenal, so I might have to come down and watch my Gunners. Steph Catley.
Unbelievable.
Forward.
It'll be good.
Yeah.
It'll be really good. And it's nice that it's not in Sydney for once.
And now we go into our questions of the week.
Football Friends with Ben and Stef is proudly brought to you by the Inner Game Journals, started by none other than our co-host Stephen Moore. The Athlete Performance Journals were created to help athletes of all abilities become more self-aware through goal setting and reflection. On or off the field, the mental side of the game is so crucial to help you feel and perform at your best. Head over to www.theinnergamejournals.com and use code FOOTBALLFRIENDS to get 15% off all products. If you're a club, school or academy, you're in luck. Stefan also runs workshops and he's just released the app version, which will allow you to give direct feedback to players. Download the app for free today. Search The Inner Game on the App Store.
At RobDogs87, if Ben or Stefan were the head of the APL, what 3 key strategies would you put in place to see realistic growth of A-League fans / sponsorship and the league itself for the next 5 years? I've read the question out, so you can go first, and it gives me a little bit of time to think.
You fucking buy yourself some time. What 3 key strategies would you put in place to see realistic growth of the A-League fan sponsorship and the league itself for the next 5 years? Well, I think first and foremost, the broadcaster, with the broadcasting, I think we need to find a suitable option that can start to bring back and emulate what we had with Fox. Obviously, it's not going to get like that because the money maybe isn't there for the broadcasting deal. But I feel like we need to do a better job of marketing games so that not just the diehard football fan knows about it, but your everyday Joe Blow walking down the street, that there's billboards or there's things out there. Like, I think for the Women's World Cup, it was done really, really well. And that was a great success. So I'd be looking at what are other leagues, what are other codes doing that's working really, really well, and how can we copy that to an extent and make that work for our game? So I think that's number 1, making people know about it. I think number 2, what we need to connect with is the community aspect, because I feel like that's what we can do in this country with where football's at, because we're not superstars that are walking down the street and every single person knows who you are. So I feel like we need to do a really, really good job and emphasize it so much more that we actually are out there in the community. And I spoke to some sponsors at our Western United game, and actually one of them did say, I never really cared too much about the A-League, or I never really cared too much about football. But now that, you know, we're sponsoring, I really care so much. I look at the results and I feel like I'm a part of it. So I feel like that's with anything. You know, my parents say that to me as well. When I'm playing if I'm not playing, they're like, oh, fuck, I'm not really that interested in the game. And that's just a natural thing. But I feel like when you feel like you've actually got skin in the game, then you're immediately more connected to it. So I feel like we need to do a really good job of actually pushing the players, pushing your young stars like your Iran Kundas, like your Nisbets, players like this that are, representing an A-League club, push them out into the community and make sure that they're feeling that connection with the fans so that when the fans are coming to the game, they feel like, oh, fuck, I was with Iran Kunda last week at the shopping centre and I got a photo with him and I got a signed poster from this kid. And then you actually feel like you're more connected to it. And that's when you're going to start having, your kids busting their parents' balls. We need to go to the game. We need to go to the game, because bums on seats for me, and these two kind of link up, it would be the third one. How are we going to get more bums on seats? And I think that's the $1 million question, That's something that we've probably discussed all season on the podcast is, why is it everyone plays this sport? It's the most played sport for juniors, but why is that not translating to bums on seats? So that one there, to be honest, I actually don't know how to answer that. I feel like with the other two things, we can start to get that, but I feel like the problems are so deep-rooted. You've said it before, what comes first, the money or the bums on seats? You need money to get the bums on seats, but also it's really, really hard to actually make that happen. So I've kind of given two. For the third, I'll have a bit more of a think, but they're two things that I would like to see, improved in our game.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We actually had the PFA. I don't know if you've had the meeting yet, but with our players' union, they actually have flown around or seen every team to kind of ask about what us as players think of the league, what our perception is, what other people's perception is, how can we help as the playing group improve this? Can we make a bigger stand in not just, accepting what we get given and decisions, and so I've probably had a little bit of help with this because we had this strategy meeting. But for me, the number one is, and it kind of goes in with it, is the 5 years plan, actually having a plan. So the people at the top, so if I'm head of the APL, I'm putting out a 5-year plan, if that's what you want, or 10 years or 20 years. And I need key metrics to be hitting, because at the moment we seem to just make decisions worrying about today or tomorrow and not 5 years down the track. So I would be putting out a plan and saying, these are what we're aiming to do in the next 5 years. At each year or at each 6 months, you can hold me accountable to that. And if I'm not doing that and I'm not capable of it, I need to step down, because my job should be to lead the organisation to actually improve, get more attendances, get more money. And if I'm not able to do that, someone else needs to come in and do it. So I think that's something the APL haven't done. Nobody knows what they're trying to achieve. They've got this Keep Up app or platform, and they've spent all this money from Silver Lake. Nobody really knows what their plan was behind it, and it obviously didn't work. And we're the ones that kind of suffer as fans, as players. So,
or the game,
the game in general. So number one would be to actually have a plan and map it out for everyone in the public, because the fans, like you touched on, we want to feel part of it. When you feel part of something, even if it's not working, you can understand why. You can see, all right, we're going to suffer a little bit for the next year or two, but then in year 3, that's when things will come good. So a 5-year plan would be the number one thing that I'd put out. And Japan, they had a 100-year plan. They're in year 32, I think, at the moment, and they're pretty bang on with what they're trying to achieve. Number 2, exactly like you said, community programs. I think there's probably 2 levels of athletes, and you're either a superstar or you're kind of in that community level, and we're at that community level. Like, the reality is, if me and you walk down the street now, we're not getting stopped by anyone. But if we were Dustin Martin and Nick Dacos, we're getting mobbed. We can't walk down the street without people asking for photos. So we're at a lower level. But when you go to these kids' programs, kids don't care if you're famous or not. They're just buzzing to be there. But if you're a player that they can see at their school on a Tuesday afternoon, and then they can see the same player on a Friday night at Cooper Stadiums, they'll be buzzing. And I do a couple of things in the community, and there's a couple of kids I coach, they come to the games, and then I'm signing their hats on a Friday, and I see them the next week, and they're like, oh, what a goal you scored, or what an assist. So I think if we can connect, and each club, again, who controls this? I don't know, whether it's the APL, whether it's the clubs, whether it's the players taking more initiative. We should all have, as players, as clubs, a certain amount of schools or clubs that you need to go to, and schools is probably the easiest, but we should all have 2 or 3 schools that we see throughout the term. It's on us as players or the club to go and see them and you try and sell memberships. Maybe create it in a way where players are incentivized. The more you go out there, if you sell more memberships there directly from that school, you get a cut of it or whatever it is. But there needs to be a way to actually engage with the fans more, because kids love football.
Yeah.
Like it's the number one played sport. These kids want to love us. They just don't know who we are, and we're not on the normal, Channel 7 or Fox Sports anymore. So Channel 10 and Paramount probably need to do a better job with that, but also we can do a lot more in the community, and that's where in Adelaide we're lucky. It's a small town, so it's easier to capture the market. And then I think sponsorship, that would be probably connecting with the right sponsors that are actually aligning with us. So, obviously we did that grand final deal, and that's not the right type of sponsorship deal, because that kind of doesn't have the fans in mind. Every deal that we're doing should be like, why are we getting these guys to be a sponsor? Are they actually connecting with us as a brand? So I think money is money, and it's always important. But if you're taking the money that's going to kind of put the game at the detriment, then it's not good for the league. So that's, again, that's all comes down to, if you have a good plan, it's easy to execute it. But at the moment we don't. So
Yeah. And I feel like, to be honest, that's just an on-the-spot answer. I think that question there probably needs weeks or months of preparation and to see what you're going to do. But we're not getting paid enough because we're not the head of the AFL. So maybe if they give us the pay packet, then we can maybe start to actually put some better ideas in place. But we'll go on to the next one. Damon B01. Who will be the next under-20 kid after Nestori to sign for a big club?
we have another young boy coming through, Armani, I think his name is.
Giorgio
Emporio. And he's meant to be really good. I trained with him when I was in the off season before I was deciding to come back to Adelaide, and he looked really good. He's 15, I think. So he's, again, it's a lot of potential. But even someone like Johnny Yule, I think if Johnny Yule had like a really good year, he could go for big money. He was obviously linked with Chelsea, and they made an offer for him. He's a couple years older now, probably hasn't played as well as what he wanted to this season. But it's hard to know, unless you're at the clubs themselves.
Yeah.
You never really know.
I feel like a lot of them, you don't get to see that much of them, because even someone like a Nesta, for me, if he's at maybe a Melbourne City, he probably would have broken through because he is so good, but it might have taken that little bit longer.
Yeah.
So then by the time you actually get onto the scene and you start to get, he's learnt so many lessons, even this season, of, dealing with the mental setbacks and the mental side of the game. And now he's kind of coming through that and learning, but maybe he doesn't get that learning so early. So it sets him back a year in his development. So I think it's very hard to say. I definitely think, like we said, he is a generational talent.
But even like a Melbourne City, a Sydney FC, a West Sydney, these are the clubs that have had academies now for, 4 or 5 years. So to be honest, those are the clubs you're actually expecting to develop, because you're spending, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on your academy. You want a return on investment. So you actually need to produce. And Sydney FC, I guess, with their couple centre-backs, Girdwood Reichs, centre-back, midfielder, and Matthews, Hayden Matthews, is it?
Yeah.
They've been unbelievable, and they grew up playing together, kind of like me and you, playing in high school with each other. Now they're playing for the same professional team. They've got a really good partnership.
We just never got on the fucking park when we were that age. That was the only problem.
It was a different, not saying we
different
were better,
landscape. It was
not saying we were better than
completely
them, but back then it was different. Yeah, if you're a young player, like there wasn't many.
No.
Like from our age group, 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds even, there was only probably 3 or 4 others that were signed.
Yeah, I remember going into under-20s camps back then, and like if you were coming in and you'd like just played a game, you were going in like the fucking king.
Yeah.
You were like, fucking, I've just played like an A-League game before coming into this camp.
Yeah,
you felt
true.
like you were Johnny Big Bollocks going in. But I think for that question, to sign for a big club, and I'm assuming big club means a Bayern Munich, a club like that, a Premier League club. For me, you need to be coming onto the scene and breaking onto the scene when you are 16, 17, and actually coming on and starting to dominate very, very quickly, because the kids, what they've already got over there, and they're scouting all over the world, in Asia, in Africa, you need to be a serious talent to be getting looked at by a club like
Maybe
Bayern
a goalkeeper, you get lucky like a Joe
Yeah,
Gauci.
yeah,
because
Gauci,
they're a
but
little
even
bit
he's
different.
older.
But
as
Aston
well.
Villa, like they're massive, but it's not a Bayern Munich either.
It's not. No.
So, all right, we'll go on to the next one. At Stepovers, which Aussie has made the biggest impact on the Premier League so far?
like in all time?
I'm assuming.
Because if it's this season,
I think it's
there's only one there.
what Ange.
Yeah.
I would say that means of all time. So Tim Cahill, I would say. I think he's probably been the most consistent player. Was he the best? Maybe, Harry Kilmark for Duca, but I think the amount of time Cahill spent there, even you got Schwarzer as well.
Schwartz is a massive one. Then goes to Chelsea.
Wins it. He won it with Leicester and Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
Obviously wasn't playing at the time, but still, yeah. Probably I would say Cahill. I don't know about you. I got big Harry Kewell on the back right now, but
I know, and I've got the Liverpool kit, and I'm a Liverpool fan. Like that was my kind of idol. I think in terms of playing for like a big club, but not just playing for a big club, because obviously Schwarzer was at Chelsea as well, but like actually getting bought when you had serious interest from other massive clubs. Like that's going to Liverpool in that 2005 Champions League win. Rafa Benitez saying to him, I remember he told us when we were at Melbourne Heart, he was like, if you're fit, even if you're not 100%, I need to put you on the starting lineup because if the other team sees you, they'll be like scared straight away.
yeah.
And hearing that, I was like, fucking hell, this guy must have been a big dog.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, you probably, there's, yeah.
and also Ange.
Yeah, Ange, right.
Look,
I think
it's been one season, but
ask us in 5 years' time, and Ange will probably be the number one if he can win the Premier League with Tottenham, which I love Ange, but Tottenham aren't winning the Premier League. He needs to move to a different club.
We'll see. Liverpool job's coming up.
Yeah, he could put his hand up.
You never
for that.
know.
Man United job apparently is there. I'm sure Pep, if he leaves City, but that's a hard one to go there
He'll
after
never
Pep.
leave City.
Oh, he has to eventually. Surely he's stressed out after watching the documentary. He's got too much energy.
I don't know how he
That
does
guy's
it.
going to burn out one day. But next up, we have buy, bench, sell. Ben, Stef, McGree. I don't know why they've put me, you, and McGree in this one.
I don't know either. Must be an Adelaide fan.
Yeah. Well,
Buy, bench, sell. Well, you got to buy. I feel like you have to buy McGree
Yeah.
for upside. He's obviously a little bit younger than us.
yeah. And then you'd bench. You'd probably bench you, and I think you'd sell me. I've probably got more market value as a midfielder.
Oh, what? So I'm just a fucking bench warmer?
Yeah.
Fuck me. That was a fucking nice way to say it.
Good for a night out maybe with the team, the camaraderie.
I'm there for camaraderie. If the boys want to go out, if we want to do something, if we want to work out the Mad Monday, I'll be there.
Post-match runs, you'll be great at the box-to-box runs.
Why is it buy, bench, sell? Can't it just be like buy, stay at the club, sell?
Yeah, well,
We'll just reword it. It's buy, stay at the club, sell. So I'll just stay at the club, not sit on the bench. Because I don't really like that.
anyway, this one from @TarnFG. You've got a free kick on the edge of the box in the 90th minute of a World Cup final. One of you has to take it. Who takes it and why?
Well, I feel like I would take it because you're not really a free kick taker.
I wouldn't.
That's
take
not really
free
your.
kicks.
It's not
Nah,
really
nah.
your
We
game.
we used to go all the time. To be honest, when we were young, like 14, you used to go to SASI, the South Australia
Yeah.
Sports Institute, and used to just take shots, take free kicks. And I
All
never
day.
I never went as much as you.
You've never really been like a set pick, like even like
Nah.
corners and things like that.
I've never really taken set piece. And it's something that once you get to like, I think 16, 17, if you've never practiced that, you're not going to waste time on it because you have to spend a lot of time doing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're not great at it, what's the point in wasting your time? So that's something that you're actually not too bad at. I don't think you've scored one.
Yeah. I scored the one at Hearts.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah. Scored.
Yeah. We'll get
Wasn't
that.
bad.
We'll get that clipped up and put in there for people to see.
It's Ben Goodrich. Oh! It's an absolute cracker from the Australian, and it is a quick-fire double for Craig Levine and Hart. That has all sorts of gear on it, swag, whatever you want to call it. Left-footed, over the wall, no chance for the keeper. Unbelievable finish, Caruccio.
So I
but
feel like just off
World
that-
Cup final, I think you'd shit your pants.
Well,
and
World Cup
straight
final,
into
I'd be thinking,
Rosette.
if it's me and you standing there, I'd be looking at you going, how the fuck are we in a World Cup final and me and you on the pitch?
Yeah, that's true. Very true. But let's go, two more?
Yeah, go on.
This one here, Kingsman _J. Where should A-League men's expand to next, given Auckland and Canberra is successful? Obviously, we don't know about Canberra yet, assuming, let's say, they do come in. If you had to expand 2 more teams, you're the head of the APL still, because your three key things have delivered. Where are you expanding?
Another one in Queensland and Tassie.
Yeah, Tassie. I think Tassie's a good one just because of, obviously, what are they, Jack Jumpers? Is that what they're called? The basketball?
Yeah.
They've been a success there. The AFL, they've launched that, and it seems like that's going to be a big success. So they've got the appetite for it. That would be a good one. And, yeah, Queensland. You could even get 2 more in Queensland or one.
For me, Gold Coast, Queensland Fury, they folded. If you look back at actually the crowds that they were getting back then compared to, the clubs that have come in more recently.
It was okay, yeah.
So,
and
back then it was like doom and gloom. And,
Yeah.
it's not good enough. Oh, no. But
the population's grown a lot. In Gold Coast, it's grown a ridiculous amount. And
Queensland's
even
gone
North
crazy.
Queensland. But you could have like Sunshine Coast, you could have Gold Coast, and you could probably even have a second team in Brisbane, or even there was the Ipswich, I think it was, that was looking like. Queensland's massive. They're growing. So I would say either 2 more teams in Queensland, or you could go 1 in Tasmania. But even, not to say that it would happen, I think another team in Adelaide.
would they get the crowds?
I think they would. I think there's enough people that don't like Adelaide United that would jump on that bandwagon, and you've got the best stadium in the league. So even if you're getting 7,000-8,000, that's enough. But if you had that rivalry like the Port Crows, it would create a bit more of a buzz, because if Adelaide United's doing bad,
Yeah, I suppose.
You know,
you've got the crowds for the.
you'd be hammering it. Oh, I think there's enough people that love sport.
The only problem I would see with it is that it's gone on so long as only being a one club
Yeah.
state. Do you know what I mean? If they did it kind of when Adelaide United first came
Yeah.
on board, because there was already that whole thing of, what's going on? It used to be, West Adelaide. It used to be
Adelaide
City,
yeah.
and now it's Adelaide United. What the fuck's this new club? But now it's like you've given people the time to actually get around it and get their heads around that whole change. So who knows? Who
Interesting.
knows? But yeah, Queensland's fucking huge, and
Yeah. And
for
you
me,
know what?
needs another team. It's got you've got your 3 hubs: your Sunshine Coast, your Brisbane, your Gold Coast, and then you've obviously got North Queensland as well, which is a whole other.
Well,
place in
if
itself.
I'm 32, 33, and a team in Sunshine Coast is coming in, I'm
Gold-
living in
Gold Coast.
Noosa. Noosa. The Gold Coast would be a bit too crazy. You'd be going out too much. Noosa, live in Noosa. Your life
Yeah.
couldn't be any better, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll see.
Young family, dog down at the beach.
Go to Burleigh Pav though.
Burleigh Pav, yeah.
That'd be
It'd be a little
alright.
bit too much.
All right, one more. We'll go. This one's come through into our requests on our phone, so I've seen it last minute. Why do you think some overseas players struggle in the A-League, etc.? Nani, Gestead, Butterfield. Some struggled when they got here and are becoming key players now. Do you think it's getting used to the country, or like me, do you think the league is underestimated? It's obviously a
Who's
Melbourne-
Butterfield?
the guy with the long hair from Victory when they
yeah,
stunk
yeah.
it up. English lad.
Yeah.
He's obviously a Melbourne Victory fan because, to be fair, you've picked out 2 players from that time at Melbourne Victory where the actual club was not in a good place. So do you bring a Butterfield back now, put him into the current Melbourne Victory team, and he looks like a completely different player? To some players,
Yeah.
maybe. I feel like that one there, like you've got a team that's struggling, so it's of course the players, individual players, are going to look like they're struggling. It might be a bad culture around the club. It could be a lot of things. So I think it's hard to judge for a Nani as well.
He was okay, but
Did his ACL.
I think there's probably 2 parts to it. Like you said, if you go into a good team, it's much easier as a player to do well. Even right now, straight away you think of who's coming top, Central Coast or Wellington. So you think, well, who are their better players? You think they're the best players. But if I was starting a team from scratch, would I pick those players first? Maybe not. But because they're winning right now, you think they're the better players. And then the second part to it is it does take a bit of time to adapt. Like, it's a new culture. You know, you've moved maybe from England or Europe, and potentially if you're, it's a foreign language, it's hard to adapt. You know, the coach is saying something. We don't have translators here for the Portuguese, the Brazilians, or, the Spanish or the Italians. So you might not even understand what the coach is saying properly. You're then expected to go out on the field to train, to know what the patterns are, to know what the exercises are you're doing, and then to go out there perform on the field when maybe your family's moved here, they're not settled. So I think you need to give them a good amount of time to actually settle in. But also, I think some of them come here expecting it's going to be easy.
Yeah, the ambition with some of them.
And you don't know that, and that's probably where like a character reference is more important. If I was a technical director or football director, yeah, ability-wise is great. I can look on Y-Scout, and every player looks good on Y-Scout because it's their highlights. But I'd be wanting to know from someone like, what are they like as a person? Do they train hard? Are they coming here for a holiday and a bit of a retirement package? Or are they coming here because they still want to prolong their career like a Bruno Fornaroli or I guess in recent times like a Torres, he's young. O'Shea even
He loves the lifestyle. Don't get me wrong. Fucking loves it.
Yeah,
loves being in warm weather and everything. But also his
probably never
performances.
leave. Yeah,
his performances also reflect
and that's the
that
thing.
on the
If they
pitch.
play well, they can stay here for a long time. So I think you probably want players in their late 20s, early 30s. Or even you can go like what Central Coast have done with Torres, like mid-20s, and then you can potentially resell them back to Asia. But you're always going to get it wrong. Like, that's just the truth. And that's why with some of the foreigners, it doesn't work out. And that's why it's sometimes safer to pick Aussie players because you know what you're going to get. Even if they're a 6 out of 10, you know it's a 6 out of 10, where a foreigner could be an 8 or a 9 out of 10, or it could be a 2 out of 10. So it's not an easy league to adapt to because of the physical demands of playing in summer, how much we run. So if you can't handle that, then you're not going to be able to do too well in this league.
Yeah, I completely agree. But that's it for the questions. We'll go on to the round 25 preview. It's round 25, but it's actually really round 26 because we've only got 2 games left. But we'll go Friday night. It's Newcastle versus Wellington. Saturday, we've got Western Sydney Wanderers versus Melbourne City. That's a massive game. Melbourne Victory versus Brisbane, and also Macarthur versus Sydney, another big one on Sunday. Perth versus Western United, we make one of the longest trips in the league. But aside from that, that's it from us today. It's going to be another cracking week. And do you have anything else that you want to say, Steph?
No, it's been great to be doing this in person. Makes it a lot easier, to be honest. If we could be doing this and having a guest in person as well, that would be next level, but I don't think we're going to be there anytime soon unless you're planning to come to the Reds or I'm coming to Western United. So we might have to kind of put that on the back burner for now. But in the off-season or in pre-season, potentially, there could be the chance to do stuff like this. So it's been great. But yeah, thanks for everyone for listening in, and we hope you enjoyed either seeing us in these kits or just listening along and playing a new game as well that Kat has brought to us.
Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in to episode 25, brought to you by Damat Tween. You guys know where to find us on socials, but if this is your first episode, we're at Football Friends Pod on Insta and TikTok, at Ben and Stef Pod on X, and Football Friends with Ben and Stef on YouTube. We've thoroughly enjoyed doing this episode in person, first time. We'll look to do it again soon. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, Fred.
Fuck you lot, where's the beer?